simply asked. I said, I wish I could have this dry bacon. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
Yes, and Tim knows very well what that is. And seems like our good friend Sarasota Tim has continued to ask his subscribers for those very important coffee donations. And while I'm talking of coffee, I do want to thank somebody because somebody sent me, and I'm going to be like Tim, a very generous donation to my coffee fund. And so, Sharon, I want to thank you for that. That was a really nice surprise. I had a really long day. Sorry, I just put some eye drops in. I apologize. I have contact lenses in. Not that anybody really cares. I put some eye drops in because I was a little dry eye. And so I apologize. I just put them in. I said, there was like, did I put some eye drops in? Because most of the time, the reason why I'm in glasses is if I've been wearing the contacts, you know how it is. Anyway, just like that guy said. So, hey, let me say hi to everybody. We've got Richie Rich. Hey, it's going to be an interesting topic. I am going to give an apology to Tim. I am. I'm going to actually give an apology to Sarasota Tim. It's not going to be very long, but I do need to make an apology and own up to a mistake and just, be the adult in the room. And then we're going to look at somebody who's not the adult in the room, which is our good friend Sarasota Tim, who seems to be struggling with the deeper questions that we have in society at the moment, which is whether or not he should take his cream with him for his coffee, or should he just stick at McDonald's and get them to add 7 creams to the coffee? I have some thoughts about the late night coffee, and it's not even about the caffeine. I think it's just about it's more about that 87-cent cup of coffee probably cost that location $5 to make, of which no more of that coffee was sold. It's just like, I don't know why he couldn't have just gone home and made a cup of coffee. And it's actually kind of irritating. So anyway, and I think it's just absolutely, these are just my opinions, and my opinion is only, as we know. But I think it's really just kind of indicative of his personality type. And I think the more we watch him over time, I think the more we get to see kind of his personality. But anyway, let me say hi to everybody. Let me do my apology. And then we're actually going to get into Tim's deleted comments from his deleted coffee video, edition 1. Of the Starbucks, and it might be some of the McDonald's. I don't know. They crossed over a little bit, but I captured probably a good 20 screenshots, I want to say, of different comments, and they're awesome because you have to read how Tim actually responded to his audience in light of what Miss Tammy said. So we're actually going to take a quick relook at the Miss Tammy comment. Obviously, we're going to go to my page and just look at the 53-second video. And then we can actually then read the comments that kind of went along with that. It's pretty interesting. Like I said, we hear a lot of what Tim had to say. So in response, and then, of course, everything got deleted away, as we know. Okay, so I apologize. I'm messing with my eye. I'm not a very good nurse. Hey, William, come on in. We got what's happening. Sammy is our new moderator. She stepped forward to say, hey, I can moderate. She's moderates at really big channels, so I feel flattered that she is moderating in our community today because she has a lot of experience, and I think a lot of you know Sammy, and so welcome aboard. And I'm sure the other moderators. So thank you for doing that again. I really appreciate it. She knows. Yeah. What do you mean? Hey, how's it going? We got Catherine. Hey, Catherine. Catherine's welcoming Sammy. And she says she's here hovering a little bit in the background. It's lunchtime midweek. Well, you've got some folks helping you out tonight, Catherine. And we always appreciate our Entipod friend down in New Zealand. So it's always fun to have so many people from around the world. And maybe, for some fun, you can always pop down in the chat where you're coming from tonight. Because it's always interesting for me to know where everybody's from. I think it's fun to get to know who we all are a little bit. You don't have to say what street you're on or anything, But if you want to share, that's up to you. It could just be the country. Hey, Sharon. Thank you for the gift, Miss Sharon. I want to say thank you. Junebug and I will enjoy. Well, at least I will enjoy. And Junebug on occasion will get a pup cup. And then she will be getting back to... I have to brush her teeth on the days I do pup cups. Junebug is asleep on the couch, and she is back to her little feisty self today. She was being really good with other dogs on our walk after the little inflatable cone thing came off. And I appreciate the person who made that recommendation, because it was far more comfortable for her and I through her end of her, time down from the surgery. And so she was so good. Like, she wasn't like being like feisty with other dogs. Sometimes she gets a little like lungy. Anyway, long story short, she was back to her old self today. All right. Oh, I don't need to apologize to Dim. Well, no, I put out a video that I mistakenly put. It was not our friend Timothy, and a couple of people who are very known in this community, and I'll keep them on the DL if they want to reveal themselves. That's, great. But they were happy to say, hey, look, I looked into this and it wasn't correct. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I can promise you the person said they had to do a lot of digging. So I just want to clarify that. Hey, yeah, we'll get the party started. And I think it's Ross and Rachel from Friends on a break. Well, it's Tim's. We're going to look at kind of his videos, because Tim has been putting out a lot of content lately. And he doesn't look as rough in the morning. Have you noticed? Have you noticed that his videos are out earlier in the day? Doesn't look as rough. And he's much more chirpy. I mean, I actually believe that, in my professional estimation, and obviously this is my opinion only. If you are new to this channel and you've just suddenly found me on a live stream here on YouTube, I am a registered nurse with BSN here in the United States. I am pretty far away into my graduate studies, training to be a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And I'm getting ready to go, hopefully, I have to start at the end of July, my clinical rotations, and then I'm on my way to be a psychiatric mental health NP. But I do not treat or diagnose anybody from this channel. I just give my kind of professional experience and expertise in the matter. But yeah, there's a lot of, influence. I think that they are not a good influence on one another, or one is not the good influence, or together it's just not. It's a toxic combination, because I think just everything in that video, or he just puts on his mask is much better when Tammy not around. He's more himself with Tammy, because he's known Tammy forever. I have records that show that Tammy and Tim have been associates for quite extended period, and are known associates for quite an extended period of time. And so this is somebody who's been connected with Tim, and they're not married, but because they have shared the same home addresses long before even now, that it did give some sort of, they've just, they're enmeshed. There's something, there's definitely some, and obviously, she was, with him when he was, when she was married. There's all sorts of stuff I need to find out more about the ex-wives, because I do understand if one does pass away before the 10 years is completed, then you are eligible, obviously, for their spousal Social Security. And so I'm trying to dig into whether or not, and probably some of these guys know, because a lot of people are really good investigators here, that some of these folks are very good at finding out certain types of information. So, yeah, keep a certain eye out. Oh, so, yeah. Hey, Dr. Falcon, come on in. Hey, Hazel, come on in. I want to make sure I'm getting everybody. Carl came in. Yeah, we're going to get the party started. I knew you were a busy guy, Carl. I'm hoping we're kind of pre-gaming for Memorial Day. So we're going to look at the comments. Hey, Stacy. Stacy was so sweet. She's like, Ray, you got to look at this comment. And I appreciate that, because I think it's hey, Gina. I know there's lots of names that I recognize. Hey, Gina. I know she always catches us up on the replay. So I'm glad you got us live tonight. And If I'm Cat Lady, and like I said, Sharon, I wanted to say thank you. Sarasota Sharon. We've got Tammy T in East Texas. Irish is out here. We got Vegas. We got Cat Lady. We got Central Virginia. We know I love my Virginia. I'm a Virginia girl. And my real dad was from North Carolina, believe it or not. So I'm half of Virginia and half of North Carolina. Where the English accent came from, it's a long story. Oh, your neighboring state? You're in West Virginia? Beautiful. Oh my gosh, Illinois. Hi, Lee. How are you? Hey, Carroll, Illinois. Well, Chicago is one of my favorite cities, by the way. I've been to Chicago many a time. I love Chicago. I have the best time every time. I love Chicago. I go in the summer there. I'm just going to be honest. Lee says right outside Charlotte. Well, I lived, as we know, in Charlotte, and I love North Carolina. That's where I'm thinking about moving to. That's where we are. You got LA County here. You got somewhere in the middle of Tennessee, and we got all sorts of awesome places. Montana. We've got some Florida. We got all sorts of Toronto. Oh, another one of my favorite places I've ever visited. I had a really good time in Toronto. It's been a long time. Oh no! Did Norm from Cheers just pass away? Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! That's so sad, Norm. Oh no, that's really sad. Okay, I am so sad. It's always sad. I love Cheers. Cheers was like, I was obsessed. They had it in England on Channel 4. It was like on a Saturday. I don't know, but I just remember I loved that show. I wasn't old enough to be in a bar at the time. But I could understand. You're in Asheville? Oh, somebody's in Asheville? I love Asheville. Lots of wonderful places. You're a DC to Knoxville transplant. Oh my goodness. The medical field is looking good for good people. Oh, mental health professionals. Well, I'm thinking that when I go to license, I think I'm just going to license Virginia and North Carolina at the same time and just get it done at once. If I can afford it, because I think it's, or maybe I can find a way to do it. I'll see, because it's not like a nursing license, which has reciprocity to each state or different states. There's what they have like a compact. And so there are many states that are in this very large nursing compact that says if you license, say, in Virginia, you can work in North Carolina, South Carolina. I mean, it's huge. And there are still a few states that don't do it, like California. I think you have to get licensure for there. It's not hard, but it's obviously, more licensures to pay for and so forth. So it's just, I don't know if there's anything, because we all take the same national boards. So it doesn't make sense that if we're all taking the same boards across the nation, why would we not be able to work across all states? Why limit somebody's practice? But then again, each state also has, especially when you start to get more into advanced practice, very specific regulations, more specific with providers and so forth, especially with nurse practice. So it makes, I think, a little bit more sense that they may have more restrictions and regulations on licensure. And I think it's wise. Hey, Cody, come on in. All right. Well, let me clarify my mistake in my apology to Sarasota Tim. I actually had to cover up on my thing because of a language that somebody used, and it was actually in support of Sarasota Tim and Tammy's behavior. So some of the responses are actually kind of telling about even Tim's audience. So anyway, so what happened is that I had, and people are awesome because they'll give you little tips about people, Tim or Tammy or whoever. And obviously I went on a delve, but I didn't delve far enough. And so I pulled up a lot of information. There was a lot of information I found on that court site that was all free to access, hundreds of pages. And it's Timothy Ray Baker is his name. And so it was the same name. And it was Sarasota, though I understand from this somebody who was a couple of people told me within the reaction community, and everybody like kind of has each other's back, and that's what's so awesome about this community. And I appreciate it. I'm not going to be somebody who's like going to be shy, because if you don't admit to making mistakes about stuff or doing something incorrect, you never learn. So anyway, I obviously found all that stuff about the insurance and about the lawsuit, and the other person said the same. And this is kind of interesting for me and something I reflected on as a medical professional. Like, I made a judgment about somebody because of what I believe this person's character is. And, seeing videos like the coffee video and just kind of how Tim does treat service workers, which I think everybody can agree. And Blind Views did a great video about that. And a lot of other people can say the language and say certain things that as a professional, it would not be appropriate for me to come in on my channel and call people by too many ugly names, and which is why I choose to use more clinical definitions of behaviors and personality traits, and that's what I work in. And so it's not my brand, It's not to say in my head I don't think these things of people, but I obviously, as a professional, have to kind of sit back and, look at how I made a judgment. Like, I don't think that Sarasota Tim is somebody who has a lot of good character traits. And just seeing how he is around money and other people's money and the returning of items, these are all very unusual behaviors. And there's a lot of entitlement involved. I mean, the level of entitlement that I see between he and Tammy is enormous. It's enormous. So anyway, Coffeegate. Well, we're going to be getting to Coffeegate. So anyway, I obviously looked at this case. It matched kind of, a lot of the stuff. And so I made an assumption that the insurance thing was Tim, because it seemed, things matched. Well, I was found out, and I should know better as a medical professional, at the date of birth of this Timothy Ray Baker. Guess what? There's a lot of them in Florida, right around there. It's not the same date of birth as all Timothy Ray Baker. And as a medical professional, if anything that we always double check, and it annoys every patient, but there is a huge reason why we do it, is to check a date of birth, which I did not do, because I did some delving into all that papers, but I didn't go deep enough because I kind of had an assumption and a judgment. So somebody was kind enough. Yeah, exactly. We all have flaws. Exactly. Absolutely. Right. And and I'm somebody who's always been, I found and maybe because I was never a narcissist, or I don't know, maybe my parents did some raising me correctly, who knows? But I remember one time, and it was I felt a significant event within part of my professional career, was that I started work for a publishing house in London many years ago. And I'm not going to make this all about me, but this is part of my apology and why I feel comfortable with coming out and saying, hey, I messed up, and I pulled the video down as soon as I found out, and it's going to be deleted. And I don't want to dox the person. And it's an apology to Tim, because obviously he's not the person who committed that particular act. Not that he hasn't had others. And because of his other particular acts, it has meant that I, made a judgment on Tim. And so I was happy that other people corrected me. And they also said, hey, but I spent all day. I was like, wow, you must have been disappointed to find out that's not our guy, despite all the other horrific things he does. And they really are, because how Tim and Tammy treat service workers is horrific. But, my mistake. So when I was working in London many years ago, I was working at a publishing house, and I was at my desk, and everyone had gone for the day, and I had just started my position, and I wanted to kind of clean up my desk because everybody else used to leave at 5, but I was there till 5:30. So I started a little bit later, which I liked, and I left just 30 minutes after everybody in order to answer any calls that happened to be coming in up until 5:30, which is kind of a traditional working time in the UK. So I was alone, and nothing was really happening. And so I decided just to tidy up my brand new desk. And inside the desk, and nobody said anything to me, and I didn't know, was a ton of these business cards. And this is the days when they had business cards. So this just tells you how long ago it was. It was like 1994 or something, or something like that, 95 anyway. I threw them out. I threw out the business cards because I just thought they were trash, rubbish in the desk. So anyway, I come in the next morning, and like I said, I come in a little bit after my colleagues and my boss. And so my boss asked me, and of course, this is my brand new job. I'm working at this publishing house in London, and I was very excited because I was thinking, and I worked in publishing for quite a few years. Anyway, so she asked me, she said, "Did you throw out those business cards?" And I knew it was me, and it was in my desk. And so I knew you can't lie about these things, why, to save face, because you actually are going to not save face by lying. And so I just admitted to the fact I did it. And she said to me, that was the reason why I kept my job. Because had I lied, she knew I was a dishonest person. She wouldn't want to have me as an employee. But because I admitted honestly to my mistake, even though she was bummed that they were gone, she probably also realized too, she probably should have pointed out that I shouldn't touch them. And of course, the rubbish had already gone and they were thrown away. And, there's no resolving it. But, but it taught me from from even in a professional thing, you are so much better at just admitting when something is a mistake. And I think that's, part of where Tim has gone very wrong. And I think in some ways, even his numbers in his video views are reflecting he lost some audience on this. There were some people not impressed. So we're going to get into those videos now. And so that's kind of what happened. I jumped the gun on something basically and didn't do enough research. And it was a really good lesson for me to learn as a creator and to make sure, because you don't want to, especially in this day and age online, you don't want to be having something. It isn't, as negative as Tim been. And Darling brought up a really great point in their video that it's potentially Tammy who is kind of pulling the trigger on Tim to copyright strike Lolive Oil, myself, and Buckeye Gordon recently too. And obviously, I know that because of this community and what was sent by my attorney, that they've paid a lot of attention. So anyway, if anyone ever wants to ask me any questions, I don't understand what that is. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. StreamYard got some weird beta thing about show comments on stage. Are they not showing up? It looks like they're showing up. Okay. All right, guys, let's get into this. If you haven't had a chance to hit the likes, please hit the likes. We're going to take a look at these comments, guys. We got a lot of them to get through. It's going to be fun. Okay. So I hope you brought your favorite refreshment. And let's get this going. I'm going to try to keep a little bit better eye on the chat. So you have magnetic business cards. My clients love them. Yeah, I love those too because I use them to pin things up. You still have business cards? Oh, I used to work for a print shop here that made business cards. But I think a lot of people send contacts or do all that LinkedIn stuff nowadays, like the younger generation. I still like a business card. But it was funny because, yeah. And if you do like this type of community, we are growing. There's the link to the Life and Vibe community. And if you want to even help me with grad school and liability insurance, I'm just teasing. I know some people will call me out. There we go. How about that? I'm just going to say it was one of the.
I simply asked. I said, I wish I could have that dry begging. Well, I mean, you know what that is.
And I would actually dry beg more to try to get oops, that's not what I want to say. Members into my community more than anything else. That would be my favorite. So anyway, yeah, and be nice to the everyone. Be nice and kind. Not like Tammy. Don't threaten. Don't wake up and with and with violence on your mind. It's really bad. I keep thinking about it. I know we went live about it. So anyway, we're going to bring up Tammy real quick. Tim, we're going to get a rehash. I know we've all seen it before and we absolutely love it. The morning they look hungover from heck. And I'm just going to say, in my professional opinion, I think they look groggy. Tim, if you notice his videos, and we'll look at one of Tim's more recent videos too, if we're going to try to squeeze one in if we've got time. One of Tim's most recent videos, he doesn't look as bleary-eyed recently, and he's putting out a lot more content. That's why I wonder. Make sure if you haven't hit the polls, guys, hit the polls. Do you believe Tim and Tammy are on a break? Rachel and Ross style, if you know friends. Yes, just plain out yes, on a break. Because we know they never break up. There's a dysfunctional codependency happening, I think. And I'm going to look up more in the DSM-5 because I know they've got about the codependence in here. So I think we're going to have to delve into the codependence. Because I do believe, and this is just my thought, they have, is Tim here? I don't know. Oh yeah, Tim's cooking a T-bone. Yeah, Tim's trying to figure out if, he's got 6 more teeth. That's goodness knows how much money. He has to get that on the care credit, but he suddenly has this money to get steaks sent from an expensive meat, butchery in California with some organic steaks or something. So he was saying he's going to probably get the hamburger. So, and then people are still donating to us, buy me a coffee, and I think that says a lot about these fags. If supporting somebody like Tim and Tammy is the hill you want to die on, be my guest. Like I said, it says more about these people than it will ever say about any of us. Promise you. And I know people coming to me. I have people obviously, you're terrible. How can you be psychiatrist? And you don't seem like you be a medical professional. I mean, what are we supposed to live in a box all the time? I mean, I think part of being a medical professional is educating the community. And part of what we have to deal with online, there's a lot of people who scam across the ages. I was watching one of a much younger creator, and she's got a whole podcast, a young TikToker. I mean, TikTok is the hot spot. Like, YouTube cracks down a little harder. So Tim has kind of flown under the radar a little bit on his his medical stories. If he's saying Johnny Vegas is getting a heart transplant or waiting for a heart or something, then half his cardiology story was probably from Johnny Vegas. He's not going to care if Tim repeats it. All right, let's get to this other old clip. Let's get to this. This is one of our favorites here. And we're going to play him at normal speed. And then you're going to hear what Tammy actually said, which is interesting as well, I think. It's fascinating. Okay, let me present these guys up here. And then these comments are great, guys. I gotta let you know that's worth staying for the comments. I've got the comments are choice that are gonna come up. They got deleted under this video. So if you're new to this channel, Tim put out this video. Shoot, it was only like, what was it, Thursday or Friday last week? And Coffeegate has already exploded. And so Tim thinks that he is some type of coffee connoisseur. But obviously, how can you be a coffee connoisseur if you have to add 7 heavy creams to any given cup of coffee, regardless of the brand? Now, I would not call myself a coffee connoisseur either, because I need a heavy amount of some type of oat or nut milk in order to drink mine. But I wouldn't call myself a coffee connoisseur. I like my Panera Light roast. It's got a certain little acidity taste to it. That I appreciate it. So that's the one little thing. Anyway, let's just take these two toxic duo. This is a toxic codependent duo in my clinical estimation. And Ross and Rachel Saul. Sorry, back to the poll. I'm skipping ahead. Do you believe Tim and Tammy are on a break? Because like I said, they're absolute codependents. Codependents in my estimation. Yes, they are. No. Still together, just Tammy, or Tammy's out of town with family. It's pretty much that's all that happens. Or Tim, Tim. I should have put in there an option. Tim's in the doghouse. That would have been better than Tammy's out of town. But it's Memorial Day weekend. She's not going to be with Tim over the holidays. She's going to be with her family. All right, Tim. Oh my gosh. So look at how bleary-eyed and stuff. And this is a weird relationship. Okay.
And you got to give it to him. That's a grande. That's a lot of coffee. But I'm so disappointed that my first cup of coffee today is not the best cup of coffee I ever drink in my life. I'm tempted to stop and buy some. Go into 7-Eleven, do something. I can't drink that.
No, attempt to take it right back. Shove in their face.
I will take it back. So you're like, oh, we know you. You're the return man.
Tammy is so charming. Tim, take it right back. And it sounds like she says, throw it in your face. I can slow her down. I don't know if it helps hear any better. I captured it on my cell phone. Came out a lot better than I thought, actually. Anyway, it actually really did. There you go. You can all subscribe to the channel, guys. Subscribe to me in the chat. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to put them down a little tiny bit. I'm going to go back just a little bit further because it's not a long clip. And let's see if we can, hear, because you'll hear what the reason why I'm saying this is because you're going to read Tim's response soon to what was said by Tammy.
I will take it back.
Oh.
So you're like, oh,
hold on. Even further. Oh, it's right there then. Hold on. Oh, that's where he shakes his head. Okay.
Attempt to take it right back. Shove in their face.
Okay. So write it in the chat what you think Tammy said. Okay. Write it in the chat what you think Tammy said. Reason being is that Tim is going to tell you in his comment section what Tammy said. So just to let you know, he's going to clarify what was said, supposedly. But what do you think you heard? All right, let me go back to normal speed. All right. I think a lot of people have heard this, so I'm not going to labor it out here. Okay. What did Tammy from her Rock Hill, South Carolina accent say? I actually worked in Rock Hill, South Carolina for like 6 months. And my favorite experience, and this is a true story, it's adult time. I was going to grab they had this great little like Italian pizzeria place. Had great specials after the day. And so I would often go in there and grab something and like eat a little bit of it and then take it home so I could get the, I think, dine-in price. But it was right next to my work. And it had kind of a fun atmosphere. And occasionally they'd have a really good sour beer on tap. So on a Friday, I'd grab one. Anyway, I remember one time I was getting out of my car, getting ready to go. And it's like 5 in the afternoon or something like that. And this person starts doing rugs, as they would say on YouTube, because I can't say it really. And it was rugs that required a spoon and some cotton ball and some type of syringe. This person did it right in the car, right next to me in the middle of the day. And after that, I kept calling it Crack Rock Hill. Not that all of Rock Hill is like that, but that was just something that really was like, oh, wow, that's kind of wild. In the middle of a parking lot. I mean, like, I had an SUV, could look right down in that car. Tim doesn't drink? Oh, yeah, that's a lie. Promise you. Tim drinks. I said, Tim, this is a face of a man who, and Tim also did the international hand gesture of drinking. Tim is not spoken about not having consumed alcohol ever since we saw him come out of the bar like swaying in Key West on a live camera. Because somebody actually managed to bring up the live camera of Tim and Tammy leaving a Key West bar. And that was only sometime at the beginning of this year. And we don't get to see the non-alcoholic beer clinking around in the shopping cart anymore because Tim, and we've heard glass bottles in his trash can. And Tim otherwise has plastic bottles of sugary fruit juices and water. So in my clinical estimation and looking at this particular exchange, this is from potential substance use, and that being alcohol, because that's known to be the favored substance of Tim and Tammy. And if Tim was somebody who drank and his long-term partner is not stopped drinking, then the likelihood of him returning to alcohol is extremely high. Also, it would never be advised for anybody who is on a journey to sobriety to ever drink non-alcoholic beer because there's still a slight amount of actual alcohol in that. So in reality, you are not sober. Thank you, Hater Channel, for letting me explain how attuned you are to Tim.
We'll take it back. So you're like, oh, we know you. You're the return man. So anyway, folks, we tried. No do-overs. One and done.
There's no such thing as real non-alcoholic beer. And the only way to do that is literally, it's never been beer.
Around here, buddy.
Gosh.
McDonald's is still the best cup of coffee I've drank in my
Hater
life.
in there. They can survive. Okay. Let's share this tab instead. I won't be irritated. That was my last response to you, Hater Channel. You're just obviously, that's fine. You'll be the one person here of 186 people watching that is in support of Sarasota Tim. So I'm going to give you kudos for having that type of gumption. And I think it's so much easier. But I mean, considering how big this live stream is at the moment, thank you guys. Make sure you hit the likes when you come on in and hit the poll. Or Tim and Tammy, Ross and Rachel. I should put is Tim in the doghouse, but it's too late now. We have to do that on another poll. I think we also might have a poll on what is the worst comment we're about to read. Okay, so this is Tim's day, and we're going to get into one of these. Blind View's going to very good. We might even look at his late night senior McDonald's. But this is what, look. Before the coffee gate, okay, before coffee gate, Tim was only popping out, a couple of videos a day, that was it. Couple here with Tammy. And then suddenly, when this is right after coffee gate, okay, because he pops out of Crushing It for Christ, he just like putting out the content has just been nonstop. Today, oh my goodness, look, so since this morning we've had one, and he hasn't even got to evening chat yet, guys, because there's still one more video to come out for the night, at least one or two. He might do a 3-minute showing a steak and then a 20-minute of him talking outside or something for evening chat. I'll put money on some evening chat tonight. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 videos. This is like back to old Tim. When he's like a Laughlin Tim. Oh, he threw out a racial slur? Oh, that's right. That's correct. He called it yes, he did. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, Tim. You bet Tim is hater? Oh. I am okay with that. It's a view. I don't think they ever figure out engagement is engagement. And I'm circling back around to Chantel. I haven't forgotten you, Foodie. I check in with you at least once a month to make sure you're still alive. I am her secret side nurse. Okay. She probably misses my medical input. All right. So let's bring up the first set of comments. So this is, this is now the sanitized. So many videos, my Lord. Look at this amount of content. This is the edited. This is the super edited version. And he looks pretty rough from the start of this video. If you haven't caught it, guys, check anybody else's. I think, did we go over this the other night? I think we did. So if you haven't, I think that dark, bitter, and roasted, we did. We went over that. So go check that out. Don't see Tim stuff. No to Tim. I'm just teasing. Tim, we love you. I apologize to you tonight. Okay, I'm going to kind of disappear behind the screen because oh, no, I don't. I can share it. Hold on. Yay! I forgot. I tested it out before I started. I was like, I think it hides me, but no, that's the other one I use. Okay, so this is when I got alerted because this is what happens. A lot of times I get very busy. It was Friday. It had to have been a Friday because, yeah, it was Friday. This all happened on Friday because usually with my work, because obviously I work, just as a heads up, I'm a pediatric RN. I spent 8 hours today and we had a medical appointment to go to and we did baths and all sorts of stuff today. I do breathing treatments. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff I do. And I was saying to Sammy that I don't get, but hey, Rosebud, maybe, yeah, Tim lost viewers. You're right. I have a full 8-hour shift. And obviously, because I'm in care of a toddler, I don't really get a break unless she takes a nap, which she's very good for me for taking naps. Yeah, that's like my time to finally eat a little bit of lunch. But I'm also charting and like getting things ready for the afternoon with her. So it's just a busy day. And today we were at a doctor's appointment. Oh, hey, high flyer. What do you think of Tim saying Starbucks coffee makes him mad and that he needs to control his anger? I think it's so telling. Yes, I think that most of us can be able to kind of ascertain a little bit towards why Tim would be, I think the thing is that Tim may have been trying to make, and I am not a political channel, as we know, but Tim does have, and thank you so much for that super chat, by the way. Thank you, High Flyer. That's very generous. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I'm like trying to get right into the question. I guess from a medical, like, how would I think from this type of, what was Tim regaining and trying to get some type of antagonism started? Because what I was sensing from the interaction, they were being very antagonistical. Though Tim kind of acts nice to the girl, he's already going in there in kind of a mood. Now, the mood could be, and I suspect part of it, is that he and Tammy were imbibing the night before, and he appears fairly hungover. People say that Tammy's slurring in the video. I don't know about that because I can't tell with accents sometimes. People in the southern parts of the United States tend to have a slower cadence when they speak. So that can be difficult to tell. I can tell that Tim looks and his whole sort of sense of behavior was very agitated and irritated and antagonistical before he even started that coffee video. And I'm sure part of it could be because he, in his mind, like me with my judgment about that, the insurance thing, is that he is not going to like Starbucks. Tim's politics is quite the polar opposite of Starbucks. And so I wonder, in some way, were they trying to cause a little bit of showing to his audience? Of course, they're not, people are forcing him to do like Starbucks, but he's not going to he's not going to like Starbucks. And, and it was just everything about that whole interaction between those two. It was very, very strange. I just like, why would you film yourselves being so kind of caustic and callous, entitled, being a little bit ugly in their character? I think it really highlighted some really unattractive personality traits that both have, and whether they feed on each other on that is probably, which is why I think there's some codependency, because they don't let each other go. Hey, Richard, I hope that answered your question, High Flyer. Yeah, he does need to control his anger. The other part. Yes, I think he does. I think especially for a YouTube audience and a channel where he's supposed to be light and positivity, if he was going to have that attitude and that mood ahead of time, and I think that he, in my estimation too, his hangover, because I think he was hungover, we got to see the real Tim. I think kind of like the mask slipped a little bit, because narcissists always have the false self that they are wanting to show to the world. This was a very malignant narcissist, that kind of a nasty narcissist that came out, like not kind, like very entitled, very thinking that he and Tammy should be served to the utmost, even though they don't show gratitude. They're not particularly kind to these people. Tim's a little smarmy, really. And, if they don't seem to get his jokes, he's not happy. Oh, he's got a lot of stuff going on. It's very telling, High Flyer. All right, let me get over to Richard. Hey, Richard. Oh, well, I hope to keep up the great videos, but I'm going to make sure my facts are always checked. Okay, let's go to these first comments so we can get going here. Well, go see what Blind Views has to say. I think you should, because he thinks Tim and Tammy aren't particularly kind people either. I don't think anybody has anything good to say about this toxic duo at this time. Oh, you're welcome. I hope that helped. But they are very antagonistical in that video. Oh my gosh, Flat Pat. Thank you so much for that super chat. She says no bicycles for Tim kids on Christmas morning, so no need to know how to assemble them. Yes. And at the moment, he would not probably like to pay any type of tariff that would be added potentially on something coming from China, because we know cheap as anything. And there are lots of videos showing that people are getting fairly hefty tariff bills on things. And so at the moment, I would be potentially very hesitant to have a product that was not coming fully from the United States to share with my audience. Because I wouldn't want to have my audience go to pay for something or do something, and then it come to, because they're going to ship it from overseas, and it then have this potentially tariff bill. So I would just want to be very cautious. But yeah, thank goodness. And Tim is terrible at assembling bikes. Yeah, and Tim wouldn't give anybody a Christmas gift. Those bikes that he got from his sponsor deals too, those things are going to be on Facebook Marketplace. And somebody pointed out that Tim is breaking all sorts of violations for riding around on his e-scooter on the paved areas. That's not allowed where he is in Florida. Thank you for your generosity, Flat Pat. Okay, so this is one of the first comments, and I think this is the one that alerted me that I should check into this video more, because I go in. It said, Tim, this is the first one. Tim, you might want to remove the comment in your video by your friend. So Tim had this video up for about 2 hours. I want to say it was getting close to noon. And I'm thinking that my patient was settling down or something had happened. I'm guessing I had a break in my day. And I looked at this comment. I was like, oh, something's going on. And so I started screenshotting too. And then I decided that I needed to screen record this video and just get it up as soon as possible. And I was able to do that, and I get it on the little. I did more editing probably than Tim, because I edited it on my iMovie and stuff, got it uploaded. I didn't have time to make a thumbnail, guys, and stuff. I was at work. I was surprised I got that much done. Probably was eating lunch at the same time and charting. No. So Tim says here, and remember, and he says in a video that came out today that he has people that moderate his chat. So we know the four, horsemen of the apocalypse who are taking out everybody. Oh, Gina. Oh, well, Gina, we've got 10 of these screenshots to go through tonight. I got 20 of these comments. And a number were from Tim. And I don't know if that's reflective of his mood that day. Thank you for that $5 super chat. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. I thank you guys. You guys are so generous tonight. And I appreciate it because I need to save up for my liability insurance. I'm telling you, Junebug was a little bit more, but she's worth every penny. She got no cancer now. We don't even have to do ultrasounds. We're not scared of anything. And she's back to her little feisty self trying to take down the neighborhood. So I'm excited. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, these get good. So Tim says, why? Who the hell doesn't go back in if their order is not right? I haven't gone back yet, but you can be sure I will. Sunglass emoji. I mean, I have obviously, this is somebody who was like, and I think this person tries to help Tim a little bit more. So this C Mabbott, if you are not being loved enough by Tim, come to our community. There's lots of people that have had Tim be a jerk to them. Okay. And I don't know. I can say that as a medical professional. Some people are jerks. And Tim is really a jerk. I don't think that would get me in trouble with YouTube, would it? Does that make me sound unprofessional? Let me know. He hates people calling him names. Oh, I make him, he cannot stand me. I'm like, because I have so many more things than Tim would never have. One, obviously an education, which means that I have the ability to learn and understand how to make an apology, which Tim has never apologized for what was said by Tammy. And his audience doesn't like it. Okay, yeah, Tim's fault's valid too. Oh, he says, oh, okay. Is that how you would respond? I mean, even to the thought if your drink was wrong, like a coffee drink? I am sure, as I said before, I have left. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. I can't say that, unfortunately. That would not be professional. But I think jerk I can get away with. But yeah, he is that too. He says, who the hell doesn't go back in if their order is not right? I haven't gone back yet, but you can be sure I will. Well, Tim, you said you would never go back to Starbucks again. You said you would never go back to Starbucks again. So you said, and I don't believe that you drove 3 miles. We did it on the coffee as the bitter one on the weekend. I think you didn't drive 3 miles. Where did we see you edit between having, gone through the drive-through? Because I believe we saw you order the coffee and then you pull into a parking lot and then drink the coffee. I don't think you drove 3 miles down the road. 3 miles would have taken you at least 10 or 15 minutes. And I don't think we saw 10 or 15 minutes. Oh, thank you, Just Cody, for that super sticker. That's so cute. Just Cody. Let me see. Let me roll up here. It's a little chicken. A little tweet. First. It says first. I can't read the little bit. They have that type too small, but that's very cute. Thank you. I appreciate that. He deserves to be mocked about his appearance. Oh gosh, yes. He's like, I think most of us would just move on. I think, or we would just understand that these people get busy and it's our responsibility as adults to check our orders before we leave anywhere to ensure we get what we want. So we're not upset. So easy. And if you are in a hurry and didn't take the time to look, well, that's your bad, really. I mean, there's been times where I've had a messed up order, but I didn't check it before I left, and it was my bad. My bad at that point. Do you know what I mean? Because I know they'll correct it right there and then. Or you just, call the number there and say, hey, I didn't, not for a coffee. I'm talking like something major, like a big food order. Coffee? No. You move on. You do, or you stop, you go inside, or you see the next Starbucks up the road. You still got the Starbucks cup. There's always one on every corner. Just go in there and say, hey, you didn't add cream to my coffee. They won't know there's a difference. There's a million solutions, Tim. Okay, so Tina Coy said here, sounds like you and Tammy are meant for each other with that comment. And that was to do with probably that he said that he would take it right back. So I guess the way that he responded to what Tammy said, instead of being like, what do you mean? Which would be a most normal person response. Like if somebody was talking about throwing, that's what I thought I heard, a drink into somebody's face, I'd be like, what do you mean throwing the drink? What are you talking about? I think most of us would be surprised. I don't think anybody would find that funny, especially a hot coffee drink. I've had a time where I got very angry with a patient at the hospital. One, because I tell you, the guy was, even the doctors wrote in his medical note that he seemed to be complaining about medical conditions that were not showing up on any testing. I think the guy just liked hanging out in the bed and getting food delivered to him, because I don't think he lived in nice conditions from what I could tell. And I guess getting meals served to him and lying in a bed and watching TV was giving it to him. And anyway, he had the audacity to throw a food tray at one of the employees who's obviously works usually for the cafeteria, who is delivering the food trays to the patients in their hospital bed, because he didn't like what was on the tray. I wanted that man out of that hospital. I wanted him out of that bed so bad. They kept giving him to me as a patient because I was a travel RN. This is why travel RN, it sucks sometimes, because they'll give you the worst patients. They won't give the regular nurses. They'll give you the terrible patients. So anyway, watching clowns, which is one of Tim's regular commenters, said, inappropriate. You are correct, ma'am. And I don't know if I've seen watching clowns in Tim's comment section recently. All right, let's get to the next one. We got a lot more to go, guys. All right, next set. So this is the best one. Hey, Blue James. Well, I'm glad. We need to, it's, live streaming. We're here. It's positive. Tim doesn't realize. He thinks we're all negative and we're all jealous of him. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I have to be jealous about Tim and Tammy. Not in a million years would I want a dysfunctional, codependent, ugly relationship like those two individuals have. And codependency is listed as a mental health disorder yes, absolutely. Okay, so this person is trying to let them know right here. Veronica says, remember when he paid an extra $5,000 for his Honda to get the oil changes, and when he took it in at 3,000 miles, they refused to change the oil? Probably because a lot of these companies now, they have a caveat that if you're going to get the oil changes, that they have to have the other services with it, because they tried to do that at my dealership because they do free oil changes. It wasn't for anything extra, but if you bought the vehicle from there. And at the time I got my vehicle, it was like right at the start of the pandemic. And so they kind of stopped that deal, but I added it on as a maintenance package so that I pay a little tiny bit extra on my car payment. And throughout, the 5 years that I'm paying on my loan, I took a 5-year loan, but it was like, what was the interest rate? I think it was like It was like 1% or 1.2%. It was like something ridiculous. That's why I took the 5-year. It's like 1.2% on a car loan. So it's like literally I have no interest rate on that car. So it's like literally a free car, but they weren't doing the free oil changes. And so I got it as a little bit of a maintenance package, which means when I go to get my oil changes, they can't say, well, unless you get the brake, fluid done or the this done or the that done at 3,000 miles, then we're not going to give you the oil change. But for mine, they have to, because I literally paid for oil changes. So they can't tell me no. So that's potentially where he went wrong. He didn't know what he was getting. You've got to, and they tried to stop it. I said, no, you cannot. I said, that's paid for by me. It's nothing to do with you guys. So you can't force me into your, break this and that and the other. I have plenty of mechanic friends, so they just, because I usually ask them to try to rotate the tires. So that's one of the reasons why I like to take it to the dealership for the oil change, because they can put the car up. Whereas my friends do like their place, they just can't throw it up. Anyway, I got friends who'll do like brake changes and stuff for like $70. I don't need to pay all that money. Anyway, so this lady said, or this person, I don't know if it's a man or a female. I would almost think it was a woman, because I feel like it would be more of a lady thing to do, to try to warn Tim. Like the guys wouldn't care in his audience what happened, But they said, again, at Sarasota Tim, I suggested you remove it so the haters wouldn't use it against you. I have to admit, I am disappointed that you condone, or Tim doesn't know what condone means. Don't use those types of words. Or at least are excusing the comment. It wasn't nice. Then your comment to me, I was just trying to help damage control. I won't say anymore. That to me is really sad. That is how, this person felt. That this person is literally saying, look, this is not a good look for you. And the response that we saw on the previous, screen here, basically from Tim, was like, who the hell doesn't go back? It's not even saying anything. Tim's not even realizing at this point it's about Tammy. And he's even said the friend. And he's just like, this is who these two are. This is why they got the free steak. Tim didn't have, Blind View's point of this, Tim didn't have really a problem with the steak. It just didn't make his mouth go, whoa, I can't use that word. You just didn't give him the satisfaction that he was like hoping for. But the steak was fine. And it could, he just doesn't, and it could potentially come off an employee's, wages or whatever. He just doesn't care. Him and Tammy, they want people to wait on them hand and foot for free. And they're two of the lowest types of, their character is quite low in my estimation. The way you treat others around you really is highlighting who you are as a person. They've been ugly to people on the cruises. They just are cheap. They want everybody else to give them something. I think the people that sent him coffee money and are still kind of supporting him, what is your mental health? Because that's not the hill I would die on. Okay, let's go back to this one just to show you what the, and this person's still trying to say, like, and I hope at this point this person isn't watching Tim's crap anymore. He is they are the lowest of the low, Irish. Yeah, and I agree, Ridge Runner. I all agree with all you're saying. Yeah, they are showing their true colors. Absolutely. You're all here. William, yes, they flip out. Yeah, they do. So here, this person says, but would you throw it in their face? Now, this is what Tim says. And again, see Mabbott, very sad. This person is very unhappy. I hope they have given up on Tim at this point. I hope you come over here, see Mabbott. You are welcome and accepted. Tim says, throw in their face. Now, I don't know if this is Tim. I almost think that Tammy might do his responses because I don't think Tim could get the correct spelling. I think we know when Tim is doing his own titles because the spelling terrible. Whoever writes this is not Tim. In my opinion, it doesn't seem like the same voice to Tim. Sometimes it does, and other times it doesn't. So I don't think Tim notices the difference between there, and there. That's just my professional estimation from seeing some of his spelling. I was an English major. I was an English teacher. So I was a linguist. I know it's hard to think because I'm a nurse now, but I had 2 careers. Anyway, I'm just saying. I can see that the voice sometimes changes, and people's voice when they write is, or, there's a distinct voice often, and Sarasota's voice is not transferred. So she said, shove. And it was a figure of speech, I think is the last part. Now, I might have not caught everything because obviously I'm at work at the same time. Hey, Birdie, come on in. William says, my ex-girlfriend was one and married to one. She made me feel so loved, yet so little. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. She clearly said throw. Yeah. We'll put a poll out now. Let's take a look at the other poll. I don't think shove or throw. Tim, if you're watching, neither is good. Neither put Tammy in a good light. Both show Tammy's true colors. I don't think ever in my entire life have I said, because I've worked as a server and worked in the pubs in England and worked here as a server in bars and restaurants and stuff. I work as a nurse. That's pretty much a service industry. I would never want to say that because I would never want somebody to think to do that to me. That is such a level of immaturity that is coming from 2 people. I think Tammy's like 65 and Tim is 66. It's really, really, and this is not cool, Tim. That's not cool. Okay, let's get some more going. We got lots more, guys. Let's get to the third one. Otherwise, we may never get to a reaction. Oh, they just keep getting better. Okay. All right. So, C. Mavic comes back in. Yeah, I think she was, but that's not an excuse. If you know you're that ugly on alcohol, you probably shouldn't drink. Just coming from a professional opinion. Probably not a good mix. Not a good mix. Alcohol, not your friend. Tammy and Tim together are a toxic combo because Tim is supposedly trying to say he's sober and crushing it for Christ. Tammy is no way sober. If you're someone who's trying to reach sobriety, and I can promise you, one of the things that we do with mental health disorders is one of the biggest ones we have is substance use disorders. And one of the things that this is why I do pediatrics, but one of the things that has to be, eliminated to really see how somebody's mental health is the use of substances. And I would say, since we've seen Tim and Tammy coming out of the bar, we know Tammy has a drink. Tim has been looking groggy and more absent in the morning. He has put on a lot of abdominal weight. A lot of these things are indicative of somebody who is abusing alcohol. Just saying. I've had to work with a lot of them in my time. And we have to do a lot of it in mental health. So alcohol is a big one. And I've had to help a lot of people pass away from alcoholism. So my clinical estimation is those 2 were hungover. But it doesn't excuse for their behaviors because, alcohol often is the truth serum. So it's going to show us really kind of, part of, the character. And look, again, if you're not a nice person on alcohol, you shouldn't drink. Plain and simple. Nobody deserves you being an ugly drunk around nobody else should be the people that have to deal with that. That's not everybody else's problem. That's something that you should probably seek help because you're going to do a lot of damage to your body too. So alcohol is like one of the worst. I might enjoy a drink, with friends on a social occasion, I never keep alcohol in the house. It's just, so anyway, yeah, I don't think, the free cruises, the friends. Oh yeah. Tim, yeah, he's definitely drinking again. Nancy, I'm surprised because I guess that Tammy made him quit because, oh no, we saw them roll out of that bar in Key West. You do not go to places like Key West or, Vegas. Go to Vegas and not have a drink. What are you talking about? He's in his 7th trimester. Garden inspired living says that's right. If it doesn't say at all, who does that? They're terrible. You had substance use abuse issues. I'm not perfect. Well, none of us are, William, and thank you for being so honest and sharing. And I know that's a hard battle. So probably some people who have substance use issues, we can kind of tell Tim was kind of falling, I think, a little off the wagon with Tammy over there. And I, it shows in his face, his nose, his cheeks, his abdomen. We've seen how much weight he suddenly put on. Okay, it's not just the food. The one thing that really does that is beer and alcohol. Yeah, he's been snarlier. Yeah. I'm thinking he's much more, and he's been very forgetful lately. Like, he's extremely forgetful. Very forgetful. Okay. So this person says, somebody seems to be having a bad day. Maybe scrub the comment and start anew. And then WWJD. What would Jesus do? And then Watching Clowns says, I'm slow, I guess, but I figured out after 2 years. I'm guessing the WWJD might be what, who knows? And then Chris says down here, this is great, too much Metallica listening and not enough Joel Osteen lately. For those of you who are not familiar with Joel Osteen, probably Catherine or Rosebud or anyone out in the UK, Joel Osteen is a prosperity preacher here in the United States, probably Pentecostal or something, probably the largest, with a very large congregation in Houston, Texas, that fills out an entire arena every Sunday. His church is a previous basketball arena. And he's an interesting character. Not the most Christian person I could think of necessarily. All right. So Ann Meredith says, I hope you're not one of my relatives, Miss Meredith. I came from the Meredith clan. Take the coffee back, but please be kind. They'll make it right. All of us make mistakes. Well, maybe Ann's maybe Ann is a relative of mine. But don't watch Sarasota Tim if you are, Ms. Meredith. Maybe that's her middle name. It could be her middle name. Anyway, Tim says, supposedly, do you actually think I would go in there irate? All the sunglass emojis kill me. I'm just never gonna go back. Never did like Starbucks. Nothing personal. Just don't like their coffee. Well, Cougar Sand came in. They heard me saying that I gave out the bat signal for the religious people. I mentioned Joel Osteen. Cougar Sand says, Brother Joel is willing to open up his church. You are I love Cougar Sand. Cougar Sand is being facetious, everybody, because we know when Houston got hit with a very large hurricane, Joel Osteen was not opening up the doors to his church. How dare he let the great unwashed of Houston try to seek shelter in that expensive arena? How dare they want to seek shelter? The 700 Club? The 700 Club is filmed in Virginia Beach, Catherine. You do know that, don't you? The 700 Club comes from Pat Robertson, whose church was here in Virginia Beach and was at Regent University, which is here in Virginia Beach. I know people who've worked at the 700 Club. Get into that. Oh, I've also had my friends, or we've known the cardiologist who used to care for Pat Robertson. Just as a strange coincidence. Okay. Virginia Beach is also very linked. So I know a thing or two about the prosperity folks and the Southern Baptists. Yeah. Oh, I told you about this. Oh, I was the one who told you about the 700 Club. Oh, good. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole. We used to have it on here every morning on CBS here in Virginia Beach until Pat passed away. When Pat passed away, the show came off. Okay, so and Tim said, never going back. A minute ago, you said you were going to go back and get your coffee corrected. We can't make any sense. All right, let's get the next ones up, guy. We got more to go. Let me share this screen. All right, let's get the next one up. Was that number 3? Was that 3 we looked at? It's time for number 4. Okay, number 4. We got to get through these. Was that? Oh, here we go. Okay, here comes Angel Mission. Angel Mission says, people make mistakes. No need to get angry. It is frustrating. This is Angel Mission saying something. So I don't think Angel Mission is Tammy. There was rumors that we thought maybe Angel Mission was Tammy in disguise. I think Tammy comes in as Sarasota Tim. No need to get angry. It is frustrating to not get what you ordered. Sometimes it happens. Maybe you could keep some whipping cream in your portable cooler fridge for a while you're out and about. Well, that makes a little sense. Too much sense, Angel Mission. Tim tried it for a day. He needs that paper cup that he can dispose of on a daily basis to really get that coffee taste. Tim says, I could do that, and I may have to if making an order and having it read back to me, and they taped it on the cup as well. This is the attitude we got. Sarasota Tim, yeah, he would get type 2 diabetes. Yes, and I have been asking what his hemoglobin A1C is. It's one number you can't lie about, Tim. Well, you could lie, but you can't fudge the test, you know. You're enjoying the live? You're going to go to Sandbridge? Oh, have a good time, Trisha. I love Sandbridge. Sandbridge is awesome. There is an awesome kayak place right up the road in Sandbridge. If you can rent the kayak, it's very inexpensive. You can take it out in the afternoon. You get to go out around the back bay. It is the most awesome thing. You've got to do it. You've got to do the kayak tour. So you don't even get a tour. You get to go out on your own. They give you a map. It's my favorite thing to do with my friends in the summer is to go out on those kayaks and bring a little picnic, chill out. It's awesome. Awesome. Best time. Very inexpensive. It's a very inexpensive thing. $15 a person. All right. Sarasota Tim's response from Angel Mission is, it's better than letting it get to you. Positive thinking and living is crushing it. I do understand the frustration, though. Do you? Do you, Angel Mission? Do you understand the frustration? You may have more scandals with the guy. Oh, Jerry Falwell. Girl, my uncle was a right-hand man to Jerry Falwell. I'm not joking. He married one of my cousins. I don't talk to those cousins. I'm telling you. My family grew up in Roanoke. My cousins went to Liberty, girl. I know all about those stuff. I know all about it. You can't help it when you come from the South. You know, just don't be fooled. I got this English accent. I tell you, I got my passport in the house. You can't come from this area, man. You come from Virginia, coming from a heavy Southern Baptist. A little bit different from old Joel Osteen. He's more like a Pentecostal prosperity. Very different from the Southern Baptists. They're a different, whole different breed. So Angel Mission is seemingly like she's going to give him, hey, Gen X, come on in. Tim a hall pass. Tim is going to get a hall pass. Okay, let's get to the next one. We still got more to go, guys. It just kept popping off. These have all been deleted, of course. All deleted. Okay. Next one, Kay. This was pinned by Sarasota Tim on this video before it disappeared. And then we still have even more comments. Tim says, because of the mix-up with the coffee this morning, we When are you taking accountability, Tim? Never. I think the answer to that is probably never. And not being awake yet. Tim, you're usually like chirping on all full Duracell Energizer Bunny batteries. So this sounds like a handful of excuses from somebody with a hangover. And not being awake yet, I accidentally added the Starbucks video to the McDonald's video. My apologies. Patience is truly a virtue. So Tim, if you weren't aware, just to make matters even better, had released that full Starbucks video with Tammy. And I meant to put out that poll. Hold on. Let me end this poll. Okay. This one about Tim and Tammy being on a break. What were the results? Come on. Show me, Nightbot. Oh, hold on. Let me do the live chat. That's probably one. There we go. Are Tim and Tammy on a break? 55% say no. 22% say yes. And 22% say, Tammy's just out of town with family, and that's why Tim is boring us with so much non-tent. Okay, next poll. All right, so we're starting a poll because we need to know if Tim. Hold on, I was suddenly thinking my poll, and then I got all sidetracked over here. I know I want to ask something about Tim and his starts. It will come back to me. I was going to ask something. I should write this stuff down before I go off. You can tell I already had an 8-hour day. Plus now. It will come to me. I'm going to start a new poll. Anyway. Oh. I think I was going to ask if Tim was hungover. No, that wouldn't be a good question. Because of the mix-up with coffee this morning and not being awake yet, I accidentally added a Starbucks video to the McDonald's video. My apologies. Patience is truly a virtue. So yes, this is what happened. I guess, Tim, do you remember I went on a live stream, if you joined me a couple of weeks ago, and I said that if Tim is going to be putting out all these like coffee videos, maybe he should just like do like a group of them together and actually get some AdSense money and, do it. Now, I would assume that he could do it like a little bit better edited, but what made this so glorious is that he put out the Starbucks video alone with Tammy's, oh, that's right, throw or shove. I remembered it now. That he put out Tammy's video on the Starbucks alone, and then he tacked it onto the end of the McDonald's. So that thing went out twice on both videos. Don't tell me that Tim was not getting like Friday night starting on Thursday, because this all went down on a Friday morning. I was just like, oh, I think a lot of times these Sarasota Tims are actually Tammy in his chat. And we can watch how he responds to comments now. There's other people that do this. This is not Tim. Sunglass emoji. And Patrick says, I think I figured out what went wrong at McDonald's. No, Patrick. It's not what went wrong at McDonald's. It's what went wrong at Starbucks. Okay. Did Tammy say? This is the new poll. Did Tammy say ... throw? I think there's only two words because Tim said it was shove. So I don't think we need a third choice. Shove. All right. That's it. There's two choices. Did Tammy say throw? Or did Tammy say shove? What did she say? All right. Okay, we got more to come, guys. We still got more of these fun videos. So some of these start to come up on the fall of when two videos got deleted. They both had to come down. So Tim not only had to lose the Starbucks video that he was getting views on, and the comments gone, all those moderated comments, and then he had to take his McDonald's video also down because he had tacked on the end of that McDonald's video. Somebody had the Starbucks video, so he had to take 2 videos down because obviously they both had Tammy with the. It was awesome. So it was actually on 2 videos originally before it was taken down. So his audience got to hear it twice, Tammy, with that lovely statement. Oh, it's just awesome. It's awesome. All right. Number 6. All right. This is what Marsha says. Some people actually make sense in Tim's chat, which is sad for him because they should be somewhere better spending their time and their AdSense than on Sarasota Tim. Marsha says, if getting the wrong coffee is all you have to get upset about, consider yourself lucky. And I think that Marsha has a really good point because a wrong cup of coffee is not all the complaints, and the reason why Tim's having to sidetrack so much around it is because their response to it was so ugly. And I think that's probably how they respond to a lot of stuff. I think these two try to grift out and complain about everything. And we know people like this. We all do. Nobody really likes these types of characters. There's no reason. Because it's not, they don't do for the community good. There's a lot of selfishness, entitlement. It's really, I have a hard time with these types of people, especially if they've been out drinking. And Tim says, I wouldn't really say I was upset. More like disappointed after how explicitly I explained everything, and the cup even indicates heavy whipping cream. But like you say, you're much worse things in life. Moving on. Well, Tim, you might have been moving on, but we're all still hanging out on Coffeegate. It's giving us a great opportunity to see how you've tried to pivot. And Tim is like such a classic narcissist. In my opinion, he doubles down on wanting to show coffee videos. He was such a jerk in this video. He and Tammy were jerks. I think YouTube will not demonetize me for saying that. But they really were. They sounded like jerks in the call. And I think it showed kind of their true colors, and it really showed a pretty unattractive side to their personalities that we kind of already knew was there, because we've seen how they've treated people in their cruising time. They don't treat people very kindly. And that's probably why some of these places that Tim filmed him when his channel was popping off and they were being invited up to this, they were invited up to some pretty nice place up in North Carolina. Oh my God, Tim just couldn't contain himself for getting so much free stuff, But I'm sure at the end of the day I would just not want to, even if I had a business, I would still want to make sure, especially with YouTube, I would definitely want, and the fact that these people aren't being managed by like a publicist or anything at all, until they get really big, I would be just very cautious about letting characters like Tim and Tammy anywhere near anything of mine. I would not want these characters anywhere near my home. That's just my opinion. Anyway, Michael says, LOL, that was hilarious. Really, Michael? That's why I'm thumbs down. It's on Tim or somebody else. Not the people who said the cool stuff, but all the other people. That was God telling you to skip the evil heavy whipping cream. Tim don't believe in God. What are you talking about? He believes in God like anybody in the South believes in God. He's one of these non-church going, talking about Jesus people down here in the South. So anytime they just mess up anything, they, talk about how they have a great relationship with Jesus and the hope that they can get away with shit. Pardon my French. We know these types of religious folks in this country. Don't tell me we don't. I grew up in the church, and I do not like it when people purport to have all these Christian values and talk about Jesus and God and have a blessed day and this, that, and the other. And that's usually like the sign that they're probably going to be trying to screw you over somewhere. It's terrible. I hate it. And he really uses religion to kind of protect his bad behaviors, I think. And then Steve says, I think you should fly to China to see what's up with our discount on the scooter, Tim. So don't get cheap on us. So supposedly, if you're not aware, Tim put out a discount code. And I guess there was something wrong with the discount code. It wasn't working. And so he had to go and have it corrected. I'm thinking that discount probably isn't going to cover the tariff. I don't know why you're talking about a discount. All right, next one. Is this 7? Let me see. Oh, I think. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is kind of. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, this Strider MD character. This person showed up in my comment section under one of my videos and literally said, I don't see why this is such a bad thing. Strider, again, this is saying more about you. And if you think that's funny, jeez, I mean, that's something that you deeply need to address in therapy, in my professional opinion. Okay? Because that's not right in the head. And I'm happy to say when I don't think things are particularly correct in the way that you should view the world. There are personality traits. And I think it shows that that's not a good personality trait to have, to think that it's like funny to talk about, throwing a drink. I didn't see anything in that clip that we watched at the beginning with Tim's face and, yeah, I'll take it back. And that. I didn't see anything about that was funny. But this guy, Strider MD, who has the audacity to show up in my comment section, and I let him know, does Tim know you're here giving me money and engagement? Because that's what he's doing. So thank you, Strider MD. That was hilarious. They obviously made a mistake. You should have gone in to get what you want ordered. It's not a review unless you get it the way you ordered it. Now, I don't know if Strider, though, so I'm going to give him some grace if he only saw the edited version of the video. Now, these were the ones that came in after Tim had deleted Tammy's statement. So I'm going to give Strider benefit there, but then they came down into my comment section and doubled down about it not being a problem, that what Tammy said. So I'm going to think that Strider is a jerk, too. How about that? And Tim says, look at this answer. Does Tim never gives this much love to Angel Mission? The cup was so hot. This was like some double down here. I couldn't even take the lid off after they handed it to me. So I never knew. Even if it was right, I had to go somewhere and park to discover the mistake, as the parking lot is awful. I mean, it's everybody else is the problem, but this a-hole. And that's a medical term. And I'm driving a cement truck. I literally could barely get through the drive-through. But it's all behind me now, and I won't be going back because I never had a cup of coffee I've enjoyed from there. He just sounds like a petulant child. Others will wait in line that is wrapped around the building for their coffee every single day. Different strokes for different folks. Thanks for your comment. Hope you're doing well. Jesus, sunglass emoji. Tim was caught sleeping with Raphael. His clothes were washing. God, I hope not. I hate the fact that he takes his laundry to people's homes, anticipating that their wives are going to do his dirty smalls. Seriously, the audacity is outrageous. Okay, what's the next one? So Frank says, I enjoy the positive aspect of your channel. You're living your dream in a realistic way based on your personal situation. The haters are simply jealous of your positive fortitude and your ability to smile while enduring life's rocky roads. Now, again, this was on one of Tim's like evening chats or one of, I don't know, one of his, I think that chat he did that night when he was talking about what went wrong with the coffee, you know, everybody else was the problem but him and Tammy, you know, that chat that we also remember. And Tim says, you know, these dang haters for real. I know. Terrible. Terrible. Frank Smith says, I know, isn't that awesome? I know. I'm glad Catherine and everybody is taking care of the chat because I have obviously I'm reading these comments. So thank you guys. I'm sorry if I'm not highlighting everybody. I'm trying to get through these so we can potentially have time for one quick react. Tim says, that's the only conclusion I can come to. And what many have said in the past, that, you know, I'm simply jealous of Tim. Did we not understand? I am envious of a man who at the early retirement age, because Tim has still not reached full retirement, I was jealous of an able-bodied man who has tried to grift and con his way through life and provided nothing for his children and is a deadbeat alcoholic dad. Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. I mean, not to be nasty, I'm just being mean to Tim. But I mean, that's what people who have substance use, you do know that. You know, that you don't ever, you know, you're still the alcoholic, you're just not drinking. So, you know, that's one thing with substance use that you have to understand. And so it's not really to be mean, but it's kind of what you have to kind of explain to people when you're working with people with substance use disorders. And that's why you have to use, which Tim has not had, is you often have to use a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy in order to get these patients to change some of their habits in order to kind of help with the addiction. And Tim, as we can see with a lot of his behaviors, still has a very addictive personality. The addiction to coffee, the addiction to shopping and returning things. He's very addictive, which is why in some ways he can churn out so many YouTube things. It's addictive to him. It has the hit of he sees money coming in from the videos. Tim loves money. Okay, so that's a real good dopamine hit for Tim. Bing, bing. The views coming in. Bing, bing. This is all dopamine hits for this addict. So he's just, you know, and then while he was potentially imbibing a little more with Tammy, because I think they were having a pretty good time because they were out to the beach. It looked like they were having fun. Tim looked pretty groggy and rough, and he wasn't having to put out as many videos. Just didn't have to, you know. And so, yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting to watch him. Anyway, is Tim married to Tam as well? I mean, for all, I don't know what the Florida common law laws are. I know in the UK, if you live with somebody for 7 years, you're technically married. Okay, so Tim thinks we're all jealous of him. That's why we put out the negative comments. It's jealousy because Tim rocks. Tim has so many things that I should be jealous of. I would swap in a heartbeat my career, my home that I own at the beach, in my condo, and all my other things. I would swap it out in a heartbeat including my American passport, which you can't get, Tim, because you owe child support. That's why he doesn't like me. I wouldn't swap my condo for your trailer, Tim. He loves me saying that word. Okay, this is what Strider said to me. I kept the receipts, you see? You can't be a good reaction channel without receipts. Come on now. She wasn't talking about really throwing hot coffee in someone's face. It's a figure of speech. I've heard of throwing it in someone's face if they've, like, you know, in a facetious, term, if you say, I'm trying to think of a really good example of throwing it to someone's face. It's more like a comment or something, like when you want to get back at somebody, you'll throw it in their face. Like, you don't like someone and they cooked a meal and you're going to let them know that the meal sucked and you're going to throw it in their face that their cooking is terrible. But I don't think that was the case here in this video. I don't think anybody who's watched it that was what was picked up. It was, no, Timmy, take it right back and throw it in your face and throw it in their face. I don't think it was like meant to be like to cause derision. And if it was that way, Tim didn't explain it. I've never heard it that way. Figure of speech. I know. I've heard of throwing things like, oh, you threw that in my face. Like, say, for example, you made a mistake or did something wrong and somebody brought it up. Like, oh, yeah, I see you made that, you didn't get that right. And you'd be like, yeah, you're going to throw that in my face, But I wouldn't be thinking that would be in the response to this sort of situation. That's not where the throwing it in your face figure of speech would be used. Where is it a figure of speech in this situation? Not in this situation. In fact, I can look up throwing it in your face. And Tim said shove. So they were even trying to say, Tim and Tammy, it wasn't even face, Strider MD. It was shove, which is a very clear and has no figure of speech. Throwing something in someone's face means to confront or reproach them with something, often in a rude and spiteful way. It can also refer to rejecting an act of kindness or friendship in a disrespectful manner, especially when it's seen as ungrateful. So anywhere it goes, it's still looking ugly. And I just said where. Plus, does Tim know one of his subscribers is giving my channel engagement and helping me make money? I didn't realize I'd taken a screenshot. Bubba comes. Because I guess the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are in the moderating section and said, the comment cops whacked almost every comment from this morning. Says Bubba. And then they start going off about the feds and whatever. These are all Tim's friends from his Toyota 4Runner days. And so these Toyota guys, Z cars, these are all the different types of Toyotas, are Tim's loyal long-term followers. Long-term followers. If you haven't hit the likes yet, when you've come into the live stream, make sure to hit the likes. It helps people find me in the algorithm. Okay, I think we have just one more left, and then we'll do a quick react, and then we'll be out of here. Okay, I think we have just one more. I think this will be the last one. Okay, this is what Cappy says. This is, don't get me in trouble, YouTube. Kathy said, that was bullcrap. You should have went back and bitched at them, Tim. What a nice person this person is. Employees not doing their job. You should have creamer in your mini fridge in your truck just in case. I don't even know. I didn't even see Tim's response here. It's like, Kathy, whoa. Nobody wants to meet Kathy. Nobody wants to be doing anything for Kathy if that's Kathy's attitude on anything. Yeah, he hates it when anyone tells him what to do. Absolutely. Any person he may deal with is Tammy, and that's because Tammy has money. And whatever. Tim and Tammy go back a long way. It's a weird relationship. And then Jeffrey here, I wonder if this is still here. But I guess Jeffrey was joking on Tim. Wah, wah. Yeah, Bubba and TRD. Yeah, they can be funny, but they're also kind of weird. Okay. All right. So let's get over to Tim's late night coffee jaunt real quick. And we'll finish it out here, guys. We're going to put Tim to a little faster speed. Let's get him up to 1.5. Let's see if I can. Oh, Tim, you're too soon. You're always jumping the gun, mate. Let me take a look at this poll before we pop over to you. Let's see how we're doing. So we have 80% believe that Tammy said throw, which is still not a nice thing to do. It's still like, throw it in their face. I mean, no, I don't think that's what that was. It was not for that situation, Strider. You know that. And shove is only 20%. That's what Tim said. She said, neither are good. And as we know, Tim gave no apology. It was, the parking lot was too small. I was just, whatever, hungover. Because he said he was feeling a little ill that morning, remember? Said he was feeling a little ill that morning. Went like this with the hand. I was feeling a little ill. Temperamental. Temperamental? Over what, Tim? You're supposed to be retired and do nothing. What do you have to get temperamental over? What exactly? You don't have any type of career. You don't give a if you do anything for your kids or grandkids. So you don't feel any pressure for that. You don't feel any pressure to be beholden to any human being or anything. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where would you have so much that would stress you out to cause that level of irritation. If you are that easily irritated and angered in the morning over a cup of coffee, you do need to get some type of help and therapy because that's not normal. There's no excuse. It's not normal. They're lacking sleep, something up. But that's not the way that most of us try to go about our day because we understand we're in a community at large and that's just not good. Now, have we all had a bad day, like a lot of stress? And maybe you aren't being great out in public? Yes. But I hope then you would have a little bit more cognizant about it. And it just seems like, and then you didn't ever confront Tammy for what she said. And I think that cowardice is what your audience finds particularly unattractive. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why you're unattractive, Tim, but that's just one more layer. Okay. Hold on. I'm trying to get this up. Hold on. Oh, I know what's going on. Why is my screen not sharing? Hold on. It's not sharing. Hold on. I probably have to take some of these images down. Hold on. I got to remove some images. Hold on, guys. How do I get this guy down? Oh, my goodness. Oh, here he is. Hold on. Let me get this guy down. There we go. Okay, let me put Tim on. There we go. Sorry, guys. I got hot there, too. Okay, I'm going to let Tim talk while I get a fresh water. 1.5 speed. Tim's getting a late night coffee.
Everybody, Sarasota Tim. I told you to be black when I come out of
All
Publix.
right. He's a little too hyper there for me, guys. I'm going to have to take him down to 1.25.
And I also said I'm going to get myself a senior coffee here at McDonald's, even at 8:30 p.m., 8:35. I decided I bought a bunch of food. I got steaks. I got chops. I got fish. I got shrimp. I got all kind of stuff. I think I'm just going to have a shrimp cocktail and call it a night and a cup of coffee.
Does this sound like a man concerned with his waistline? Shrimp is can be high in cholesterol too, Tim. Just be careful. It's tasty, but they can be slightly cholesterol dense. Like, just be cautious. That's why I said Tim went out and got a bunch of food from the supermarket too. Guess Tammy's away for the Memorial Day or something.
Coffee. I got to be good at this hour. It's tough, but how are you going to fast 24, 48 hours, 72 hours if you can't go past just one evening's meal? So what? You're hungry, starve to death. I'm going to have that shrimp. But tonight's coffee, I want to thank very much Mr. Jim that sent me a support for some coffee on the Buy Me a Coffee link. And so thank you.
And I want to thank Sharon for sending me such a generous donation to my coffee to Panera. And I really do appreciate it. It made my day. So thank you so much. That was really sweet. That was really sweet. Because I get breakfast often from Panera. So I really appreciate that. So thank you. So I have people to thank too, Tim. But Jim, why are you sending stuff to Tim? Tim, a grown man. and
Mr. Jim very much. He appreciates the channel and likes the positivity and the viral content that we have here. But either way, it was very kind and generous of Mr. Jim.
I have to just... I love it when they all go on about the positivity. Tim, to me, most of the time is a pretty miserable complainer. Just because he says he's crushing it at the end of it doesn't mean that Tim not full of complaints. So where's the positive? It certainly wasn't that coffee video we just went over. I don't think it's the comments that he puts in his comment section. There wasn't one time when he said, hey, thanks, I really appreciate that heads up. You're right. The comment kind of came out ugly. No, he doubled down on that stuff. Very different from how obviously I reacted when I found out I made a mistake and people called me for it and sent me emails to let me know. No, I'm grateful that people are my wingman. In medicine, we have to have our wing people that say, hey, look out. Maybe you shouldn't, those are called wingmen. And people in the, Air Force or any of those know what a wingman is. And we have them in medicine too. Nurses have them all the time when we do any of our more high sort of like certain medications, like I think it's primarily insulin and heparin, very dangerous drugs if you give the wrong, doses in the hospital. We second check with another nurse. You have to have another nurse come in and second check and verify that order with you. And for certain other like blood products and things. But those are two major medications that every diabetic, and we have a lot, especially type 2 in the hospitals, that we're giving insulin, especially because we're trying to manage often elevated blood glucose levels. We have to get every time we got to find another nurse to put a second pair of eyes. And you can't say what's in the syringe. You have to hand the syringe over and then ask the nurse, how many units do I have? So that they can let you know how many units, because they're so small. And so they have to say what they see. And then they'll tell you what, 10 units, 2 units, whatever. And you have to, there's a whole protocol in it. You all have to get in and sign off on the system and everything. Anyway.
Jim, so I'm getting myself a senior coffee. And I'm going to have to use my phone to pay because my sling bag is in the trunk with my wallet with my credit card. So.
See, Tim is like, this is very, this was right after all this, coffee stuff. So who knows? Tim looks like he was really trying to keep himself occupied and busy because he's bringing all this food over to the trailer. He hates when I call it a trailer. So just to irritate Tim. Hey, sometimes, people who work in things to do with the mind, Tim, obviously know how to manipulate too. You're not the only person who understands skills of manipulation, sir.
Anyway, watch this. 4 cream, baby. It's going to be good. No, thank you.
What can I get for you?
You have any fresh coffee?
Fresh coffee?
Yeah.
We can brew some. It's going to take like a couple minutes, though.
Well, I appreciate that.
I got you.
I'm a coffee connoisseur. How about a senior coffee with 4 cream, sir?
Senior coffee, 4 cream?
Yes, please.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
So literally, this poor McDonald's is probably going to lose money on this coffee. Not that but a lot of times these are franchises owned by people. A lot of times they might be owned by a group of like a business, whatever. But still, Tim could have he's headed to the Orvie. He supposedly has McCaffey in the cabinet. Look at that. Look at that. Why don't you just go home and make a coffee? Why? This is the service, the mentality of this man. He feels like he needs to be waited on hand and foot. He'd rather wait, and you'll see this, a couple of minutes, it's a little bit long. Oh, you'll watch his mood to get them to make him a pot of coffee. That he could literally make that coffee. They sell that coffee that he could make. It's in Kroger, Walmart, wherever. If you feel like it tastes better in a paper cup, gosh dang it, Tim, kill every tree getting paper cups, I guess. I don't know. This is just an act of selfishness. And I mean, I would probably be like, no, you're fine. Literally. I'd be like, no, you're good. It's all good. It's just a very different, oh my gosh, he's just irritating. Sorry. This is just his personality.
All right, thank you. 79 plus tax. 85 cents for the best cup of coffee you ever drink in your life. You're going to make a fresh pot. I'll be back with you after I pay, and we'll taste it together. It's going to be a few minutes. Won't be no time for you, though.
Why would anybody in your audience be excited that these poor people at McDonald's that you never tipped, Tim, are having to make your sorry, you know what word I want to use, a pot of coffee at 8 something at night? Okay, whatever for those poor people. They're probably like, oh, God, that's that jerk. Oh, you're known to be the jerk at McDonald's.
So, hang in there. I guess I'll just have to stay up late. And
I know he
that's
is.
been too late. I got to be at the Honda dealer in the morning to get the oil changed, entire rotation.
Yes.
I'll make a video
entitled.
over there.
He's all of
I
those
see what's
things.
going on with the guys at the Honda dealer. It'd be nice to see everybody.
Even Junebug's sick of your shenanigans, Tim. You tell him, Junebug.
Again.
Good
Gotta
girl.
make sure my car is nice and clean. See how much they give me for it on trade-in. He tried to hire me there, the guy, the manager.
I don't know. People can hand people cash at a McDonald's. I certainly tip my people at Panera. They probably have an ability to tip. Why wouldn't you want to tip somebody who's a service worker? Especially this fool having people make a cup of pot of coffee at 8:30 at night. Ugh.
Let's see what they're going to say here. You want to give me a cup?
Yeah, Tim never has any cash.
See if they're making that fresh.
Oh, see if they're making it fresh.
Hi.
Listen to this.
You're making that fresh coffee, huh? Thank you very much.
Yeah, because Tim doesn't want to think he's getting like a pot of the old. Look at this. He's just so excited that he can tell them to make him a pot of fresh coffee for his 87-cent cup of coffee. Couldn't make it at the trailer. It's just so Tim.
You're doing it. You're doing it. Be happy to. Thank you.
I know.
Can you put up to number 1? All right, here I am at number 1, right here. So I won't bore you unless I got something to talk about right now.
It says Tim, he's going to go on for about another 7 minutes. Because like any good YouTuber, Tim knows he's got to get that mid-roll AdSense.
They're probably going to scare me to death when they come to the window. Yeah, I'm not going to eat. No, can't do it. I just can't do it. I want to do it. My teeth hurt. My teeth hurt from, I only had 1 cup of coffee today, and it was my creamer in a metal thermos, McDonald's coffee. All screwed up. This is my first cup of the day. I didn't have any more today at all.
Oh, because the 1 cup he had with coffee in his metal cup wasn't really coffee like he likes it. Therefore, it's not his real cup of coffee. What is this obsession? This is the most asinine thing I think I've ever seen in my life. Somebody this old doing this sort of thing around coffee. It's asinine. I don't even know how his audience enjoys it. I mean, I always say I always blame myself when I said I never saw him pay it forward anywhere. I noticed the pay it forward suddenly dried up again, Tim. You better get that pay it forward. How come Jim sent you coffee money? You're not paying it forward to anybody. Slacking, Tim.
And I'm all hopped up because I'm not eating. Therefore, that caffeine. Yeah. Now, you know what? I hope. This is what they do.
Thank you.
They make a fresh pot. And then.
Thank you, Pam. Pam is our resident. Thank you, Ray. Resident dental expert. Yes, he doesn't take care of his teeth, but that's nobody's fault. But everybody else's but Tim's. It's his dentist's fault. And Tim is also claiming again to be debt-free, even though we know he's got a care credit card for the teeth and the EIDL loan. So I don't know what part he's debt-free in his mind. Yes, it's coffee. He did it once for $12. Oh, I know. Instead, it's choke on the food. I know. Oh, and he said something in another video recently about something similar about that sort of stuff. About, somebody having a big bill and he wouldn't pay that. I wouldn't want to pay that much behind me. Oh, he said some real snarky stuff lately too. And that's where I'm just like, why would and because his audience some people still stick around and watch this stuff, he feels he can get away with it. When you're an ugly, malignant narcissist, sometimes like Tim, you're getting away with this stuff and people are telling you it's okay and people are sending you buy me a coffees. He's been rewarded for really shitey behavior. And so his audience rewards him. And so it makes me wonder, like, what is your character? That you're in support of this guy, this deadbeat dad. And I think all of us feel a thing or two about some deadbeat dads out there. Because this is not people that I would, especially, whatever. I mean, people can do whatever they want to do. The loyal viewers are left for probably just like him. Exactly. You've got to be okay with his behaviors, or think it's cool or funny or, I think some people though have been with Tim for a long time. So like C-Car and Bubba and all these Toyota folks, and saw when he had a minute channel that had nothing, really, but he had a decent following. And some of his videos actually got some decent views, but that might have been after though. So who knows? Because maybe all the numbers I'm seeing are skewed a little bit because maybe after the one video and then they saw that Social Security video pop off and Tim's channel pop off. And so maybe amongst these guys, he's earned a level of respect in their world, in their eyes, That's all I can imagine. Because, and that they've been with him since the beginning of that. And so they've kind of stayed loyal. But I think even at some time, when people start to exhibit certain personality traits, which Tim definitely has an antagonistical side, then I would wonder if that's really, a creative. And now in reaction channels like mine, commentary, it's an interesting place to be. I found one recently that they've been doing Corey Feldman for years. Oh, it's a rabbit hole, and I have been enjoying it. All right, Kim, keep going.
It's like a cup's worth. They pour that out into the cup. I'm not going to take it. Well, for 85 cents, I will. I'm not going to make a stink about it, but they need to let the whole pot brew. You can't get a real cup of coffee because it's going to be too strong. And I don't need super, super strong. Pull up out of the way a little bit more.
Do you hear this? So Tim's concern is they're going to start brewing the coffee and they aren't going to let the whole pot brew so it's diluted sufficiently. They're just going to let it get to like a coffee's cup's worth into the pot and then give it to Tim. Well, Tim, if that's a concern of yours, why didn't you just go home? You've got a coffee maker at the house. Why are you so incapable of going home and making your own coffee? If it causes you this much anguish and this much, complaint, you sound petty and ridiculous. Do you not understand from anybody who is a half-functioning adult? You sound immature and you sound petty. And there's a lot of things here. He is, Cody. He really is. Richard says, oh, sure, we're all jealous of a guy living in an RV in the Florida heat. Not a good retirement. No, we are, Richard. We are jealous because Tim's got it. And we're all just haters because Tim's a big YouTuber and he's a huge, big YouTube star. Well, Tim, at the moment, you're about the biggest laughing stock on YouTube. Okay? And more people are discovering that you're kind of a hot mess. And now I'm one of the OG commenters on you. And like some of the people from Girl World are starting to cross over to you, Tim. Because Chantel real boring. And I knew you were going to pop off like a pimple at one point. I could just tell with your personality. And I wanted to find the next, person worthy of reaction to before it was, because the Girl World, there's a lot of reactors. So there's a lot of, more, competition in the space. But obviously I do have my medical expertise.
All right. Oh, I don't want to pull out too much.
Girl World
coming at me from every direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope they don't do that. McDonald's, baby. And it is now, 20 to 9. I got to go to bed.
And I'm going to be one of the OGs who started reacting to Tim. And to the fact that Tim and I have been like sending cease and desists and, his copyright struck me and we've been in all sorts of shenanigans really gets me in deep with Tim, because a lot of reaction channels get a lot of stuff from their creators. But the funny thing is, it's usually somebody like Tim would be sending me the cease and desist. But I just flipped the switch on this dude. And he and Tammy have been left floundering, and they haven't touched my channel since. So they have to live with the fact that I get to react this way. And it's thanks to you guys. So thank you.
Oh, I got clean sheets. I got to put them on yet. I hate making that bed. I really do. You got to pull the mattress out. You got to take all the pillows off. Yeah, my rugs, they're not down. They're still sitting outside. I called. I already know it's not a problem, but I called because one of you said, they may not allow you to do rugs. I called. They didn't call me back to ask them. I had to leave a message. Nobody answered. So I tried.
Tim is, big nice yawn, Tim. Good Paul story. I wouldn't want to put the Paul story on that one. Can you believe he was upset because the people at the laundromat, see, Tim, do you know how much people make at a laundromat an hour? Didn't return his call about washing rugs. They don't like you washing the rugs because those little bits of that plastic, that rubber degrades over time. And people keep throwing them in the washing machine, and then that rubber gets into the machines and stuff and probably screws them up. So I'm thinking that's why they don't like them. If you want to have rugs that you wash, get the ones that are like the thicker towel. And then at least you could wash them that way. That's why I don't get the ones with the non-slip so much. I just put like the floor towel. I know they're a little more slippy. So I know there's a safety issue. I get it. I'm young and safe still. But while I'm young and safe, I get it. But they don't like them. So you're going to have to hand wash those types of rugs because they get beaten up in the machines. They're not really made to put in the machine. My grandma used to beat the heck out of hers in machines.
Oh, go give me that coffee. I need it. All right, let me get you right back here in a minute. I know you're hanging yourself. Hey, this is like the Starbucks thing. I'm not kidding you. My phone was on pause. It cut off because it only waits so long. He told me to pull up to number 1 to make a fresh pot. I talked about how I didn't want him to just rush out there. They never came. I'm back in line. I drove around. I'm asking the guy at the window, I go, hey, what happened? What happened?
Oh, yeah, they're supposed to come out and hand him a coffee, too, because he had to pull up because it wasn't ready. Well, Tim, you're not a priority. God, they're probably down to minimum staff. Gee, it's 8 o'clock. Tim, it's like dinner time for most people. They're like, God, we got everyone trying to come in for burgers. They probably got like Uber orders coming in for Uber Eats deliveries and all sorts of stuff. They got you wanting your goddamn senior coffee at 8:30. Just doesn't. Why did you know what, Tim? Stop filming. I'm sure the McDonald's still open at 8:30 at night. Since you're on this like weight loss thing, why don't you get your butt out the car and go walking and ask if you can get your coffee and help those people out? How about that? How about them apples?
And I'm smiling, but I'm not happy. I'm like, and now I'm behind this car that's waiting. They won't tell him to pull up to number one. He's just sitting at the window. Meanwhile, my coffee, I don't want the one that's in the cup now. Oh my gosh. So I'm sitting here. Okay, he got his bag. Let's find out what happened. We're gonna roll up there together right now. All right, this guy's on his way. God, he ordered a couple of drinks and bags of food. And
yes, Tim, because they probably got out of their goddamn prison job. You know, that tax stuff, you know? I need to eat dinner. Maybe taking it to a family or loved one or something. But the world revolves around Timmy. That's why we don't get narcissists in therapy. Listen to the. I just cannot. Why would you even put this online? It's showing such an unflattering side of your character. And maybe you've just been placated too much by other people in your life. And it's certainly not because I'm jealous. I'm just flabbergasted that you would show so much of your really just heinous personality traits. Astounded.
Right. Here we go. Let's find out what happened. Hey, how you doing? Hey, you told me to pull up to one about 30 minutes ago. Is it still hot? Is it fresh? Has it got 4 cream in it?
We went.
Oh my God. Is it hot? Is it got 4 creams? 30 minutes? Probably like 5. Yes. Right. That's right. That's right. That's what happens when you have just a bunch of ass kisses in your chat. And you just have to, you know, and he talks about one of his videos, and we won't go much further past this one because otherwise the stream will get too long. Maybe I'll make a reaction. But he has where he's like, oh my God, he tripping, man. Tim is tripping. Pam says those pool workers are probably shit. It's this a-hole again. Everyone goes there and really piss him off. Oh, absolutely. What a life, says Carrie. Drive through McDonald's car wash, gas station, McDonald's car wash, etc., etc. And don't forget the hydro thing at the Planet Fitness now. The hydro massage. Macy's all hitting up the tanning bed too. He's all taken into those massage chairs. Oh my gosh. I have a guy friend who loves those things. Oh my gosh. Rule number 1. Never discuss a problem with the lowest paid employee. Talk to the manager. Yes. Yeah. Or 30 minutes liar. Yeah, exactly. If you really have a problem, speak to the manager. But this is Tim's way of supposedly being so nice to these folks because he's laughing about it. No, you're being a condescending SOB. Tim, you're being a condescending SOB at the moment. And you, gosh darn know you all.
Up there, but we didn't.
Yeah, I was there 30 minutes ago. Oh, it's got 4 cream? You sure? See you later, man.
Well, you know what, Tim?
It's hot. It's
You know what, Tim? All right, I'm going to tell you right now. Look at here, Tim. I see you looking at me. I know Junebug doesn't like this face. You better check that coffee before you drive off, sir. You better check and make sure. Like, put it down in the cup holder and, stop driving, stop doing for a second. And take off the lid and double check. And now you're going to complain it's hot after you just made these people brew your shit for you? What is your problem? And why is this content?
Hot. Let's get over here. Let's get over. It's
good.
worth it, man.
Okay.
It's worth it. It's McDonald's
okay.
coffee. I ain't believe it. You won't know. It's 8:51, and I'm going to drink coffee. And I waited 30 minutes for it. I gave him a hard time. I was just joshing with him. Josh. All right, let's find out.
Were you though, Tim, joshing with him? Oh, he says he's going to check. Good. Was he joshing though? I don't know. There's always an undertone of Tim not really joshing, I feel. All right, Kim, we're almost done, sir.
It's boiling hot. Let's see what kind of color we got. I'll go right back to that drive-thru. This is really hot. I've never had it so hot. Oh my gosh, I'm going to put the lid back on.
Yeah.
We got good color. Even in the dark, I can tell we got good color. This is like my first coffee, paper cup. McCaffey, baby.
What is this? I am starting to get seriously concerned about this man's issue around the coffee. Because he had coffee in the morning and he just didn't like the way it turned out. It has to literally be like this. He is obsessed. It's kind of a compulsion now, and it's disturbing, in my professional opinion.
That's right. I'm going to ask him to double cup it next time. Slurpable. Slurpable and delicious. All that coffee's got to do is just hit my taste buds. I know it so well.
And his audience has asked him to not slurp the coffees. I've gone through that in your comment section, Tim. You really do not care anything that your community thinks. You do not care about your community.
This is the best cup of coffee I ever waited for in my life. This is hot. This is delicious. It's a senior. It was 85 centavos, and it is the absolute best cup of coffee I ever drank in my life. Folks, this is hot and delicious, creamy.
And he's trying to make up for how he was, I think, in that Starbucks video too, where he was so, negative really. And notice he's a very different person in that car with Tammy. This is the false self. This is the showboat Tim. This is the one that he puts out to his audience. Narcissists always have the false self. As that's how it's described, when we're dealing with narcissists. Tim might have some Machiavellianism in him too. He's definitely in the dark triad. So he pretty much, in this respect, he's just kind of, oh my gosh, it's very hard to, watch the level of entitlement that he has in this, but he definitely, feels this false self coming out because he can't show the true self, because the true self, he's not confident. Tim is actually somebody who lacks confidence. He is not a confident man. As much as he likes to showboat and give to the gab and all of this, that is all a mask for the scared, feeling inadequate individual that Tim is. Tim, in the really deep down, feels extremely inadequate. This is my opinion, my opinions only. But generally, when you're dealing with narcissists, they have their true self and they have their false self. And this sort of overly exuberant, this person here, this is the character that Tim thinks that he needs to be in public to get, what the narcissist needs, the adulation, the respect, the praise, this, that, and the other, the comments that tell him he's just such a wonderful person, he's so positive, blah, blah, blah. But that's going to mask the true self, which is the scared, inadequate, feeling less than which the narcissist, that's really what they feel. And that's why they overcompensate on the other end.
McAfee, baby, in that paper cup.
Yep.
I'm a happy man. Go home and have my shrimp cocktail.
He is a braggart. Yep. Carrie, you all correct.
Oh, that's
Sorry,
good
I missed
coffee,
your
folks.
comment, Carrie.
Go down to McDonald's. Tell them you want a small. If they don't have senior,
read what Carrie says.
Get this small.
Yeah, okay, Tim. Carrie has something way more interesting to say. Carrie says he is in survival mode now. He has no choice but to make these videos. He's like a burned out circus clown who had to perform the same show a million times. Yes, he constantly has to put this false self out here for YouTube. Constantly. Tim will never his authentic self is what we saw in the car with Tammy. That Tim that we see on the cruises when he's being really ugly to people who are in the service industry, who work on the ships, the people he doesn't tip, who clean his rooms. That is like, we get a little glimpse of Tim. This is the false self. But yeah, he's going to try to save his channel. But he's going to just like pretend like it didn't happen. Like, that's why he's overcompensating on this coffee video. Oh, he's horribly condescending. Yeah, and I agree, Stacy. And Jadex says, he is a phony and a braggart. Whatever he's doing is the greatest, no matter how trivial. Absolutely. And we're all so jealous. I mean, I am so jealous that I can't be sitting in a McDonald's car park at 8:30 at night getting a cup of coffee. Like, I couldn't get out there if I wanted to do that and get a cup of coffee at a McDonald's at 8:30 at night. I live in a large metropolitan city. Nothing that Tim is doing that I cannot access here in my very own hometown. Nothing. Not even the beach. Because I've got the only difference is he's on the Gulf and I'm on the Atlantic. So the beaches would look different.
Cup. And you get yourself 4 cream and see if I ain't lying. I got to take the lid off and get another sip. I might want to drink the whole thing here. I just want to enjoy this coffee because it's the best cup I've ever had in my life.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's going to stay warm till I get home. That is good. Really good. Well worth the wait.
And who cares? Who cares if Tim's getting a really good cup of coffee and well worth the wait? Who really does care? I watch this because I'm watching this guy put out this content. I'm like, does he really think people care? Is this your way of trying to apologize for being like the comment police? Has Tammy been in the vid since the incident? Oh, heck no. Oh, no. I don't think Tammy around at the moment. Tammy's either gone out of town for the Memorial Day weekend or Tim's in the doghouse. One of the two. I think Tim in the doghouse a little bit too. Even though Tammy is the one who said it, because Tim didn't get that thing edited out in the video and it got put out in the public and people told him to take it down and they didn't. And then I myself and another channel managed to copy it out real fast and I just uploaded that thing because I knew it was going to be gold. So yeah. I don't think Tammy is going to be around for a bit. Because Tammy is not going to appreciate everyone saying the stuff. I mean, she's like, people used to give Tammy a little bit of a hall pass, like, because he was pretty ugly with her with the Shengate thing. And we're going to finish it up here, guys. Let me make myself bigger. So that's enough of Tim. I'm sure he's going to be crushing it. We'll just look at Tim's hairline for a minute. So yeah, I think Tammy is probably, I don't know how long it's going to be. I think it's going to depend on whether I don't think Tammy is the person to come and save Tim's channel. Because like last year when his Laughlin views were kind of getting funny, he had Tammy come out and I don't think she wanted to appear in his content. But I think that in the end he had her, she doesn't speak much usually, which is probably a good thing. But she ended up, in some of his, he finally kind of persuaded her to get out into some of his videos. And I think it was to get his audience who, and people interested in seeing Tim and Tammy. Because they kind of was presenting her like his partner. I mean, who was to know that Tammy had a husband when he was first bringing her on YouTube? Because they acted like a couple. So I was even surprised to find out that Miss Tammy was married to another man. Because he was literally calling her like his wife and stuff, or his girlfriend. He's weird. Carrie says, he reminds me of another YouTuber named Ken Domick, who's always camping in parking lots. It's always in the doghouse with his wife. I need to check out some of these folks because we're always looking to add new folks, to talk about. But Tim is just giving content gold at the moment for reaction channels. And his weight loss and health stuff. And Tim, I'm going to let you know, okay? Just as a nurse, one reason why it may not be a good idea to have coffee at night is coffee is a diuretic, sir. And so if you're having coffee this close to bedtime, there is a great likelihood and chance that you're going to be up in the middle of the night having to go pee. Just giving you a heads up. You're welcome. Kevlar says, thanks, Ray, and thanks everyone in the chat. Be safe, be well. Peace. I'm out. We're going to be finishing out too, Kevlar. So I think that's a great message. And Jen X says, I guess that's a current 4-cup coffee maker. Bought on Amazon $15. For $15, it doesn't have auto shut off, so I bought a timer for 10. Winning. That is a win. I have just like one of those little tiny, I guess it's Mr. Coffee. No, it's a different brand now. I had another one. Anyway, it was like a little 5-cup coffee pot maker. Because I like to have it like, I like to have at least 2.5 cups, at the weekend. Maybe 3. Because they're small cups. He's the false self. Yes, he is. Yes, he is, Anne. He is the false self. Absolutely. He does. He's got that false self out there. Oh, my God. It's so bad. He's so bad. All right, guys. It was a lot of fun tonight. I thank everybody who came in. If you haven't had a chance to hit the likes before you leave, I really do appreciate that. That helps YouTube try to send me out against the millions of live streamers that we have out there. And so I appreciate all of you who took the time to be with me tonight, because it really does mean a lot to me. And for taking my apology for having, misled people about Tim just being even more of a scammer. It would have been fun, but it was not true. And so, yeah, it was a great one. And thank you, Sammy, for being a new moderator. And for Catherine, I know she popped in and out and she's somewhere. But Catherine, thank you. And thank you to everybody who was so generous in the chat this evening. That was a lot of generosity before Memorial Day. And I really do appreciate it. We had High Flyer coming in. Yeah, Tim does need to control his anger. Richard gave a very nice super. Want to keep up the great videos? I will. It inspires me, and I will do that. And Flat Pat, very nice. No, Tim's kids get nothing for Christmas. I still want to know who punched him in the eye. Gina says it was a great screenshot. It was a good screenshot at the time. And then Just Cody said this cute super sticker. So thank you so much. That was really sweet. And Cody's also been great about sharing memberships. All right, guys. I think I'm going to take a look because I want to circle back to Chantel. So Tim's got some stuff. So I'll probably be putting out some videos, maybe put out some members first. And, but I'm definitely going to take a look at some Chantel because I am off on Friday. So I may do a kickoff to the Memorial Day weekend. Maybe we'll do some foodie. Maybe I'll put out a poll and see who wants foodie or Tim or Glitters, because Glitters did finally release a video on YouTube, and I think she went over some health stuff. So I'm always happy to do that. Tammy threw coffee at him. I that would be terrible, especially. But she's literally thrown him in the doghouse. At least she's thrown something at him, probably egg in his face. She definitely threw egg in his face with those comments, because I think that Tim's channel is definitely not. I think that's the last thing I want to look at. Let's look at Tim's views just before we leave, and that'll be the last thing we look at. What's Tim's views been like today? Oh my God. I told you we get more video. Can you believe this? Tim, 9 minutes. You know Tammy not around. We have a almost 30-minute long. Tim's on his old formulas, guy. Coming to you from Walmart. Hashtag Social Security. Hashtag retirement. We got BJ Wholesales. Right, it's him and actually with a helmet. That's good. I'm glad you have safety as a concern there. So that's how many videos today? 1, 2, 4, 5. 7 videos. Tim is back. Tim's back, everybody. Tim's back. So Tim's gonna double down on his content, man. We've got from the morning chat. He's got 1.7 thousand views. Remember when he talked about throwing his back out and all that stuff? He got over 7,000 views. And it was about the time, I think, that they had re-released his Social Security video. And because somebody was said they saw it pop up on their feed. I think YouTube kind of pops out that type of evergreen content with big views every once in a blue moon, see if it'll, boost the channel. Or, I don't know. They just do that stuff. And look at these view counts today. Look at these view counts. This is from yesterday. So look at this. So this one was a pretty decent one, 3.8. And then he got 2.6, 1 point. And look, it's just going down. 1.3, 1 point. People are getting ready to go on vacation, summer stuff, Tim. I don't know. His audience can get busy. Why are you using so much of your audience's day with your stuff? 1.9. He's got to get that 10,000 views, everybody. 1.7, 1.2, 1.1. This is under 1,000 on this one. 1.2. Under, because you're shopping at BJ Wholesales for deals. Shopping. Look at all this shopping. He's got to get to 10. He's got to get to 10. We still got an evening chat to come, everyone. And I always have to check out what he said because he'll slip in some stuff right at the end of videos. So I always try to keep an eye because he'll come out with some interesting things like right at the end of his videos. Like he'll be there and then he'll say one thing. You're like, oh my Lord, Tim. He gave up the medical grifts. Well, at the moment he has. I think he got rolled about that so much. I think, he's still got the teeth grift, Nancy. The teeth are still, he's got like 6 to get fixed, so he's not quite through yet. The eye's going to jank up again. He's desperate. Oh, yeah, he knows he screwed up. Oh, absolutely. But Tim will never admit that he ever screwed up, that he ever made a mistake, that, everything else was the reason why he had a bad behavior. Not just, I'm so sorry. I came out. Everything was with an excuse. And so I think it comes across as disingenuous. And I think the way he handled it, I think people saw a lot of his true colors. And obviously, he wants to defend Tammy. But I don't know if that was a defensible statement. I don't think it was defensible. Okay, let's end this poll. And thank you for all who voted. It seems like the majority of our people, 81%, believes Tammy said the word throw, Tim. Not the word shove. Not that either are better. Shove actually is worse. I think the shove is actually worse, Tim. 18% said that's what they thought they heard. Shove might be worse because that's literally taking the hot drink and forcing it with violence. So I think shove is actually maybe worse than throw. I don't think that would have been the hill I would have died on. Not the hill I would have died on. Talk about making a mountain out of a molehill, Timmy. Yes, Timmy has. Oh, well, you've enjoyed my commentary. Thank you, Anne. Yeah, Timmy's. Yeah, I think. Oh gosh, I think his doubling down on coffee videos made it even less tasteful. I think had he had any good sense, he would have thought of a decent apology before he sat down to that just lame evening chat. And then I would have laid off some coffee videos for a few days because I think that, it was just not cool. And yet he then just doubled down on the coffee and has been more insistent about how he needs to get his coffee right. And everyone needs to get Tim's coffee right. Those scalded takes are hard on teeth. Oh yeah. And the diet that he eats, I'm sure is the dentist does not want him chopping down on a bunch of steaks and stuff at the moment. I'm sure that's not on the recommended food list, not while he's trying to get all this corrective dentistry. And he's like trying to, they tell you to be real cautious when you have the temporaries. And Tim don't give a shit. Pardon my French. But he doesn't. I'm probably going to get demonetized or at least have limited ads now. I don't care. It's all good. Nancy says, I wonder what Timmy threw at him and gave him the flat head. Well, actually, there's a theory as to why his head is flat. And there's actually probably potentially some truth in it because I work in pediatrics and you do not want a child to be flat on their head too much because it will cause for that flatness on the back of the head. So the only thing that could cause for that in Tim's head is that when he was a baby, they were just letting him lie there and they weren't turning him or getting him enough. Like he was just left lying there. And that's why his skull is so flat. That's, you have to make sure that you're doing things to make sure that the baby's skull is while it's forming, isn't, just laying it flat. But yeah, she smashed it. She shoved his head into a trash. All right, we're all getting wild here. I'm going to say goodnight. We've been here for over 2.5 hours. It was fun. I appreciate you letting me apologize. I will be going live for the Memorial Day weekend, probably Friday. And I'll catch you on the next one, guys. It was great. Thank you so much. It was fun. Bye.